Hello and welcome to the Phoenix 5 Info Show. I'm your host, Lieutenant Vince Lewis, coming to you once again from Phoenix Police Headquarters in beautiful downtown Phoenix. Joined again by my co-host, PIO Sgt. Rob Scherer.
Back together again, boss.
Thanks.
Yes.
Appreciate you being here.
Always. Always.
Rob, April is Autism Awareness Month.
Yes.
And it's something that we recognize, it's something we talk about, it's something that we not really celebrate, but we really recognize. And for that reason, I brought on some very special guests. I brought on Matthew and his son, Simon. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
So not only are you contributing stand-up members of this community, Matthew, you're my brother. Simon, you're my nephew. I appreciate you guys being here to share this part of your lives with us. Now, I think it's important for us to just put it out there that we are going to be talking about one family's experience, just your particular unique experience. Obviously, we're not going to try to diagnose or treat or any of that sort of thing, because autism is a spectrum. There's many different unique experiences under that, but we're going to talk to one family about that. Matthew, let us kind of walk us through Simon's early years and when you started to know that you might be heading in that direction.
Sure. Since Simon was a baby, he had his regular milestones that he would achieve, and then there were some milestones that maybe would be delayed, or that he would achieve in a different way, in an unexpected way. And you don't always know for sure that a child is on the spectrum, or that they may be facing some of those unique challenges. But as they get older and as they attempt different things, and you see the way that they attempt it, whether it's walking, speaking, communicating, how they interact with their peers, all of that, those are some of the things that you start to pick up on. And as those things become more evident, you may investigate it a little bit more with their pediatricians, with doctors. And it's as you go through those conversations that you start to learn more about what makes his unique situation unique in the way that it is to him. And then there are different points where you start to think, what do we do to help him? What do we do to support him and to give him the tools that he needs? Because I think a big part of autism, especially for Simon and for a lot of other individuals, is they learn and they adapt and they live their lives, but they do it in a different way than we might expect. And so it's becoming aware of that and learning how you're able to help and support them. That really kind of represents those first early years. And sometimes it can be confusing because you're learning too as a parent, and you're learning what this is going to be for your child, but you're also learning what it means for you. How do you integrate them into school and all of those things? So those are some of the challenges that come up, but there's also a lot of very good surprises and things that make your relationship with your child who's on the spectrum very unique and very special as well.
What are some of those surprises? Because I think of my relationship with my children, and it's always it's unique with all of them. And you go through life and you see those milestones and you see all that. What were some surprises that you went through that surprised you as a father?
Sure. So when Simon was young, he never really crawled. He kind of went from, being a baby and kind of being in the same place and kind of doing his thing. And he developed a way of hopping on his knees, kind of like almost like a frog-like motion. And he was very comfortable with that, and he could get moving really quickly. And so we always thought that was unique because, you don't see that very often. And sometimes for different autistic individuals, it might be toe walking or some other things. But he kind of came up with his own way of being mobile. And then one day he just started running. And so, I think that explains a lot of kind of his personality, that, whatever the challenge is, he'll find a way to do it, but it'll be unique to him, and it'll be unique to how he learns. And so I always thought that was kind of a fun surprise because, it was a unique way of getting around.
Yeah, so Simon, you're my nephew, and I remember when you come over, you play with my kids. You're about the same age. You played in your own unique way, but you never really felt like, I hope you didn't feel like you were kind of on your own, doing your own thing. You engaged when you wanted to, and you do your own thing. You have a certain amount of social battery that you can, actually, withstand, and then you kind of want to do your own thing, right? I mean, do you remember these early years, what it was like interacting with other kids?
I always remembered it as like struggling to kind of understand where they're coming from, because sometimes I would say something thinking it was like not an insult and some people would take it as an insult. I just remember struggling to understand them and them struggling to understand with me. But there's a lot of kids that I've made friends with and a lot of kids that have helped me, a lot of kids that weren't like, trying to be rude about it. I just always remembered having like a very limited social battery, and sometimes, but like with my cousins, it was easy to play with them because they always included me, and I felt that always helped me with my relationships.
So when it comes, obviously, we're wearing this uniform. When it comes to law enforcement, and I kind of want to throw this at you, boss. It's weird. Usually I'm going questions there, but you kind of have this unique. We're all kind of unique in this. I have zero experience, really, family-wise, at all. But you kind of have kind of both sides, if you will, law enforcement and kind of where we were when you got on compared to kind of where we're at now. What do you think has changed in this time frame of you being, wearing this uniform and serving this community? What has changed in our understanding and the way we've kind of adapted as a department?
Well, so Matthew, you're obviously. So we're just to let everybody remind everybody, we're talking with Matthew and Simon. Matthew, you're my brother. We grew up together. Our father, Frank, was a police officer before he passed, and then Bill Campbell, commander, 38 years on the department. So it was a long time. So we've been around police officers. We've been tightly interwoven into the policing community. We've probably had these discussions too when it deals specifically with what we're learning about what's neurotypical and what needs special attention. What I remember over my last 28 years or 26 years on the department is the evolution in training. And pretty early on after I got on was the kind of I want to say the insurgence of the crisis intervention training model, which we brought over from Memphis PD, the CIT model, where it's really we are learning so much more about all the different types of situations that are out there and how we can customize and how we can actually really just listen and learn from the people who are experiencing these life situations, autism being one of them, and of course April being Autism Awareness Month. So to answer your question, I think we continue to evolve, we learn a lot, and it really speaks to the patience that I think officers absolutely have to bring to every call, to just take a step back and realize there might be something here that's going on extra. So Matt, tell us, what do you want police officers to know ahead of time, or they may not know your situation if you're not doing smart notifications and you don't let us know ahead of time that somebody's experiencing autism in the house. What would you want the average police officer to know or do, speaking with Simon?
So one of the things that I kind of learned early on that's unique about parenting in a situation where you have an autistic child is you kind of have to decide, okay, am I going to parent to the behavior or to the state of mind first? And that can be challenging, especially in law enforcement situations where you don't have all the information, you don't have all the variables answered yet. But for certainly as a parent with an autistic child, I look at it as if the state of mind is not conducive to being able to accept the instruction or to accept the information that I'm trying to give, I want to be aware of that and try to work within that in order to reach the individual, my son, and say, okay, I understand that you're upset. I understand that there's a lot of sensory things going on, for example, and it could be an interaction with police officers. It could be lights. It could be officers coming in and out. It could be dogs barking. It could be all kinds of things that are happening in a situation. And that can be very overwhelming to an autistic individual, to where, recognizing that and understanding that and saying, okay, how do we safely, address this person's state of mind and get them to a place where we can help and cooperate with them to, bring them to a point of safety, to get the information we need or any of those types of things. And it's very similar as a parent. I want to make sure that I recognize his state of mind and kind of care to that so that I can then address the behavior or address the situation and say, okay, now that we've kind of fixed that part, how do we fix this, to make it better next time? Or how do we, provide that information he needs?
That had to take, and I see it from law enforcement coming up on a scene at any kind of situation, but as a parent, the patience, like you said, the patience to understand that. You know, a lot of times we're driven on behavior. I'm going to control this. I can't control that. I need you to do this, that type of stuff. Officers in general, so if we come in patients and we understand maybe some of those sensory things that are happening, lights, sirens, everything that we're doing for kind of a reason anyway, for that sensory kind of overload, if you will. That's kind of what we bring to the table sometimes. But in situations, you know, where that patience is really something that can be to everybody's advantage in that scenario, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I know that the more that you're trained and the more support that you have as an organization, you know, it provides you the ability to say, okay, well, we've identified that this individual is on the spectrum and may have these challenges, and then you can kind of incorporate how you address that, because there's certainly a lot going on in those moments. And even in just regular day-to-day interactions that we have, it certainly makes a difference if I can say, okay, let me recognize where his state of mind is and help him to get to a place where he's conducive to being able to work with me and to find a solution. And
Yeah, Simon, we've got a couple of minutes left. What do you want police officers in the Valley to know about you or about autism?
I think mostly what my dad said, like just understanding that some people have different understanding of things, and I think I like how you said it, like approach it like gently, and because a lot of autism's a spectrum, and I always thought like how to approach, if I was a parent who had autism and I had a child who was autistic, I would approach it of like how dad said it, like state of mind, understand what they're feeling, what is going on in their brain as much as you can. And I've always liked that about my dad and like how he handled it, because he was always not quick to discipline, and he took his time, like, okay, he's upset, but he's not doing this because he's rebelling, he's doing this because da-da-da-da-da. And I think cops should approach it like that too. Like if it's clearly rebellion or if it's clearly not following the law, take it like that, but also take a step back and understand the state of mind.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, that's excellent. And you know, I know this is something that's very personal, but I really do want to express my appreciation for you guys, you know, to come on and talk about this. I feel hopefully that you feel connected not only to the department through, you know, family and so forth, but we really do want our police officers to reach out there and have a greater understanding of the community and those, you know, specific things that we can do better to learn more about folks who are experiencing autism or living with autism or have family members who with that. So Matthew, thank you for coming on the show. Simon,
thank you for having me.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
And just like to remind everybody out there that you too can help solve crime in your community by sending tips to Silent Witness. Visit silentwitness.org and call 480-WITNESS. Visit us on all social media platforms. We are hiring. Go to joinphxpd.com, and remember, we're all in this together.